From creating a market leadership position for Mosabeer in the blank optical media category to trekking to the frozen lakes in the Himalaya. From directing the marketing department of an e-commerce venture to hot air ballooning in Cappadocia. Mr. Deepak Shetty, the CMO of Mosabeer Limited India, is the living example of the contradiction to the myth that corporates lead a boring life. A postgraduate from Wellinkar College, Mumbai, and an alumnus of NITK, Mr. Shetty has a lot to share with us today. I request Mr. Shetty to take the stage and enlighten us further.
Guys, sleepy? No? Then you're not KRECians. You're NITKians. Because during KREC days, I would have bunked the afternoon session. Would you want to? Why? What is it that brings you here? Just to hear us speak? Okay, interesting. Thank you for having me over. It's very, very nostalgic for me to come to this campus. Life seems to have come a full circle for me. I'll just share with you a picture of, this is my department picture, yes. 1985, that was us. And can you see me there? I've encircled because obviously you can't link me the way I look now. So when I passed out, I was a head full of ambition on the inside and a head full of hair on the outside. That's me now and then. When I joined in 81, this is how I looked. Innocent, sweet-looking kid who didn't know what the outside world was. And of course, ragging happened. I don't know whether you still have ragging. Do you? No, not at all. You guys don't know what you're missing. Let me tell you this. Because when ragging happened, I actually learned my first lessons of my life. I came from Gujarat, Kota, into KREC, although I happen to be a Shetty from this area of the country. But I came from the Gujarat Kota. Very innocent guys. For us, forget the F words, even things like stupid idiot was a gali. And the first time ragging happened, some senior called me idiot. And the Shetty Khoon came out. And I punched him on his face. That started the fiasco for me. I had all the seniors coming across saying, you had it. We are done with you now. You can't treat a senior like this. And I was shit scared. I didn't know what next. I mean, beating up one guy is fine, but if there are 50 of them, you know you're not a hero or anything of that sort. How do you survive? I immediately called up my cousin in Davangere. He was studying there. And he counseled me. And he told me to take it easy. He told me to relax myself and go and apologize. Again, the Shetty Khoon refused. How can I apologize? I didn't do anything wrong. He's the guy who did it wrong. He shouldn't have called me an idiot. That's how life started for us. And that's how we started learning the first lessons of our life. Though I was sure of what my goals were in my life, I was wondering how to go about achieving the same. Many a times I was wondering whether it's doable, achievable. So today I'm going to share with you on a topic which is called connecting the dots between then, in 1981 to 85 here, and now, that's today. When we were young, what did connecting the dots mean for us? Did it? 1, 2, 3, and you would be happy. यार मैंने मछली की drawing complete कर ली. Am I right? This is what was connecting the dots then. I guess that's where we learned the structured way of doing things. that became one of the key aspects of living life, that you need to structure your thinking somewhere down the line. But as we grow up, what happened? First of all, these numbers vanished. There were no numbers. The dots were there, but there were no numbers. The maze became more and more complex, and you sort of scratched your head and wondered, how am I going to connect the dots in my life? This is when I would like to remind you of what Steve Jobs said in a topic called Connecting the Dots. This is what he said in his famous speech. He said, you can only connect them by looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, maybe your destiny, maybe karma, whatever. But that's the difference that has happened in his life, and I believe it happens in everybody's life. Every aspect of our life is covered by asking ourselves these 5 W's, 5 wives and 1 husband question. Why, what, where, when, who, and how. This is where you start understanding what's happening around in your life. But when you look at Steve Jobs' statement, the statement actually talks of faith. Faith is nothing but belief. And belief in what? Belief in the outside world or belief in your own self? What do you think it is? Belief in? No, it's in your own self. It's not outside. You don't have to bother about what other people think. What you need to be bothered about is what you think you're doing right. Your belief matters most. Look at Steve Jobs, a person who revolutionized the world of technology. And what is he speaking about? Karma, gut, destiny, life. None of these words remotely relate to technology. Interesting, isn't it? It is believed that once you're able to understand everything that you do in your larger scheme of life, you have started connecting the dots. That's when your life gets sorted. But of course, some people sort out their lives at a very young age. Some people like me probably took 20, 30 years to sort out my life. So people differ in the time taken to sort out their lives. When I was coming into Mangalore, I was on a Jet Airways flight, and the Jetwings had an article on management. It was an excerpt on a book called The Business of Belief by Tom Asacker, wherein he has dwelled on the deeper meaning of belief in the world which is overwhelmed with choices. He says, belief is nothing but a working assumption about something or someone. We all have these working assumptions which all come from our past experiences. Have you seen the future? Do you know what your future is going to be? Any of you, one of you know what your future is going to be? Do you? Or you don't? Do you or you don't? It's a black box. But what do you know? Your past experiences. If I jump off the stage, maybe I can get hurt. That's an experience, maybe from somewhere in your life. So which means your past experiences are what make those predictions. Because you know that when you jumped off, you fell, you got hurt, you would believe that if you were to do it again in the future, you would get hurt. So your predictions happen because of your past experiences. Then the worry that we all would have is, can we change these perceptions? Can we change these beliefs? The answer is yes, you can change these beliefs. What we need is a motivational drive or a strong desire, and we can shift these beliefs that we have. For example, you go and do impulse buying in a shopping mall. Don't you at times stop yourself finally before buying? You somehow reason out in your mind. So you move from a feeling mind to a thinking mind and make that choice of moving away from buying that product. Does it happen in your life? Do you do it? You don't? Or you do? So guys, you're very lucky that today you have so much of technology around you which gives you the opportunity to actually Google and figure out various aspects of life. You're born at a time when great things are happening in India, and I would actually extol you to start an entrepreneurial journey rather than getting into an assignment somewhere. Excellent opportunity. 2020 is when we'll have 40% of our population which is going to be self-employed. It would be great to see a lot of NITKians being self-employed. I've been a marketeer all my life, and as a marketeer, my job is to work on your feelings. How many of you have seen that Google ad of two friends in India and Pakistan? Does it twitch you somewhere in your heart when you see it? What is Google trying to do? It is working on your feelings. This is what typically a marketeer does. Any marketeer is going to work on your feelings. Now you, as an engineer, would think maybe this is a topic for management guys, not really for an engineer. No, it's not true. Everybody has a marketeer inside him or her. And from time to time, this marketeer comes out and does its bit. When you go for an interview, what do? There's a group discussion happening. There are interviewers watching you. What do you try to do? You try to outperform the others in the group. What are you trying to do then? You're trying to market yourself, right? Aren't you marketing yourself? Showing that you're better than the rest there? So that's exactly what you do. So which means there is a marketeer inside you. Same thing happens when you go for a competency interview. Another aspect of life is, what do you remember when you have met people? Do you remember the facts, the figures, or do you remember the stories that they share? Most of the time what we remember is the stories. So it's very, very important to enjoy that story, and that story gives us some of the life's lessons. But stories are what? They're nothing but effective means of connecting the dots. The start, the middle, and the end could be very different. But once we weave it into a single silver thread, there's a sense of direction and completeness, which is what we need to do when we're dealing in our business or in our personal lives. Throughout our life, another aspect that we need to keep in mind, you will meet two kinds of people. Some who will give you the fish, and some who will teach you the fishing techniques. Most of the time, in this fast-paced environment, we're always looking for fish. We don't want to go through the pain of finding solutions. But in reality, it is fishing which is going to help you in your real life, all through your life. So it's important that you find mentors who can help you fish, and also coaches from time to time who can give you the fish. How many of you remember the Bata story? Bata in Africa. Anybody has heard about it, read about it? No? Okay, let me tell you what is the Bata story. Africa was a country where not many people were going to sell their products. But when the markets in Europe and US got saturated, we were looking for newer markets. So all sent their representatives to Africa. All the sales guys who went there, the research guys who went there, they came back and reported, nobody wears shoes in Africa. Market is zero. Nobody wears shoes. So how can I go and sell? But the Bata guy was different. He came back and said, nobody wears shoes here. Market is huge. We can put Bata shoes for every African in the country. And Bata launched shoes in Africa. And even today, you see lots of hoardings of Bata shoes and Bata chappals, as we call it, in Africa. And these shoes are known as shoes from Africa, Bata shoes. So this is how the story really gets built. And when you start looking back in your lives, you wonder where it has helped you unleash your potential. I would like to take you through a little journey of my own life. When I joined KREC, it was a fun place. Is it still a fun place? Yes. You guys enjoy it here? Yes. Excellent. Do you still go to the Rediwala outside for your bun omelette, bun maska, chai? Ishwar used to be there in those days, who used to work in the non-veg canteen and he used to run the thela with his brother there. We spent most of our life there. That's where we grew up, actually. We did a lot of discussions, we did a lot of debates there, and we learned what life is all about. We even met up with our friends from Manipal. We learned about life other than what we knew in KREC. I hope you understand. Sadanand was, of course, the most popular joint for us. Then campus jobs happened. We got serious by 4th year. I graduated in metallurgy, but I passed, but I never practiced metallurgy. My first job from the campus was with a company based in Jamshedpur. They were into manufacturing of welding electrodes, and they took me on board as a sales application engineer. So my job was to go and sell welding electrodes in various markets, and I was based out of Bombay market. That was my choice. That job actually helped me pick up one of the dots in my life that I'm a good sales guy. And that this is what I need to do in my life, and this is what I would enjoy doing it, rather than working in the factory or working in the blast furnace in a steel plant. Not that I despise my colleagues who would have gone there, but I guess I was not cut out for it. So while I was working, I realized that if I want to grow in sales, I need to go and probably get a management degree. Although after all these years, I can tell you, you don't need a management degree. If you're good in a job, you can manage anyways. But in those days, with whatever limited knowledge that I had, I thought I must do my management. And my dad was retiring around those days. So he said, look, I can't support you. I said, no, don't worry, I'll support myself. That was my arrogance. I figured out when I calculated how much money I need, I realized I didn't have enough. Because when you start working, money is good in your hands, you want to spend it. I never saved. But then I realized if I want to do my management now, I need to save. So I learned the art of financial discipline. I learned how to save money. And that has held steady for me today. Even today, I know how to do my financial planning because I learned the rudiments very early in my life. And even when I was doing my management course, I would not sit just for studies. I made a few friends. Some of them were girls. They helped me with notes while I went to do market research projects and earn money on the side. So while I was studying on one side, I was also practically implementing what I was studying. I was doing my own market research activities. So that helped me create a knowledge base or a background experience which held me steady in my rounding of career as a marketing person. So I was good in market research, I became good in financial discipline, and the first job that I got in campus was with Godrej. And they put me as an interface with the service department. In those days, Godrej was computerizing their service infrastructure, and they wanted somebody who could be the interface between the user department and the IT team. I learned IT, and I started teaching people in the Godrej campus Word, Excel, which of course you guys are born with. But in those days, those Buddhas were there. It was my job to teach them. But I also realized that I could teach. I could convince people. And with no background of having learned engineering, having learned anything on the Excel Word side in those days, I was teaching them. But it was the hard way that I learned. I used to practice it myself, make mistakes and learn. But that built my skill in technology. That built my skill on understanding service. You know, always all of us would believe Godrej is a great brand. And products which will come from Godrej would be great. Zero defects. But sitting in the service department, if there were 100 calls coming, all those 100 calls were that there was a problem with the refrigerator, there was a problem with the lock, there was a problem with the store well, and my perception for a moment changed. I said, Godrej is a lousy product. Because every now and then I only hear of defects. I only hear of complaints. What I was missing out was that these 100 calls which came were from the 10 lakh units that got sold. And when I put it into that perspective that when 10 lakh is sold, 100 complaints are coming, that I realized that Godrej is a great product. Another learning that I got from the service side of the business. So I created an experience which was there in service for me in Godrej. Then I moved to Bahrain. I had this itch of wanting to go and work abroad, make more money. I realized that Bahrain was a very small country. I was used to a large market operations, and Bahrain was like working in Mukka. क्या कर रहा हूं मैं यहाँ पे? And within 6 months I said, yaar, ye nahi chalega. I need to go back. And I quit my job without having a job in hand, came back to India. And I figured that somewhere I have also got the risk-taking ability. Came back and I said, नहीं ढूंढ लूंगा, नौकरी मिल जाएगी. But दुख तो हो रहा था. पता नहीं मिलेगी नौकरी. शादी भी हुई थी. बीवी क्या सोचेगी? कि तो निकम्मा है, जॉब भी नहीं है इसके पास. Not that I would want to believe that दुनिया क्या सोचेगी is important for us. But कहीं ना कहीं तो वो आ ही जाता है. मैंने बोला था आपको, मत जाओ. क्यों गए? होता है ना? मम्मी पापा में भी सुना होगा ऐसे. मत करो ये. अभी तो मैं तुम्हें शादी के बारे में तो नहीं बोल सकता हूं. But I'm saying that मम्मी पापा में सुना होगा ना. बोला था मत करो. फिर भी किया. So another learning happened for me. Then I thought I was a failure there, actually. That was one of my first failures that happened in my life. It took me a while to come out of it, but as soon as I came, probably in a month's time, I got a job as a branch manager with a consumer durable company who was looking for my kind of experience. I worked there for about 2 years, and then Samsung happened. Samsung actually looked at my Bahrain experience as a critical tick mark for them. Saying, oh, you've done sales, you've done service, you've done IT, and you also have international exposure. And that's when I realized what I thought was a failure for me was actually a success factor for them and the reason for them to recruit me. So I joined on board in 1995 when nobody knew Samsung in India as a strategy person to bring Samsung into India. And that gave me my first exposure of launching a brand in the Indian market. And today, of course, everybody knows Samsung as a brand. So 5 years I was with them, and that's when I created this brand. And I also drove the business for the IT side of the business, the monitors, hard disk drives, peripherals. But then again, I had the itch of wanting to do different. So in 2000, when the internet boom was happening, I went on to launch a .com. 2000, huh? way earlier than the Flipkarts and the Snapdeals of this world. And we launched a .com called firstandsecond.com, which was into books and music. It was modeled on the lines of Amazon. And we did a great job. We created a brand, and we did lots of creative things there. But like how Ram Shastri shared, the first most important thing which is important is timing. And we were way ahead of our times. Way, way ahead. The cash burn could not be managed, and in about 2.5, 3 years' time, we ran out of money. Even then, because we were the guys who had created it, we hung on. We said, nahi karenge hum, kuch na kuch karenge. 6 months we worked without salaries. Yaar, uske baad to ghar chalana padta hai. Then I said, nahi yaar, ye to nahi chalega. I think I must look for a job and move on. Mosebeer in those days was an upcoming company who was a contract manufacturing company. And the chairman wanted to launch his own brand. And I was the right fit for him. So I started by creating the Mosebeer logo that you know of today. Since 2002, 2003, I have been with Mosebeer and have worked in various aspects of the business. I've launched the Mosebeer brand. I brought HP brand into India under a brand license. Then I went to Europe. I looked after a brand called Emmor, where Mosebeer was a business associate. I got international exposure. I came back in 2008. By then we had launched consumer electronics, which was a big disaster for us, another failure that had happened, and IT peripherals, where again we had a lot of lessons to learn, and failure was part of that learning process. So life for me today has come a full circle. And it's not just about success and failures in my own personal life, but this is what happens even in business. I brought one case study to share with you, which is the Mosebeer entertainment business. You must have seen a lot of CDs and DVDs which were of Mosebeer entertainment. But do you see them now? You don't, because it's dead. Mosebeer had launched, which was into optical media and replication business. Our key core strength was high-tech manufacturing and low-cost products. But market for movie DVDs were interesting, exciting, growing. But the retail prices were very high. You used to get a DVD for about $400. That's when the promoters thought, since we are low-cost manufacturers, why don't we do a disruption? Why don't we look at this opportunity? And that's when we evolved a strategy to launch a DVD or a CD at 29 rupees and 49 rupees against a price of 400 rupees. So how did we manage that? First of all, we are a very cash-rich company. We had about 1,500 crores in our reserves. So we said, let's park 300 crores for this business. And we went and put cash on the table and negotiated deals with the content owners and did wholesale buying of content. And while in the past people used to produce fewer discs to sell in the market because not many buyers were there at 400 rupees, but we knew if you priced it at 50 rupees, there'd be a lot many more buyers with the billion population that we have. So we decided to produce high volumes and bring down the cost per disc. We had our own in-house manufacturing and packaging facility. So we were able to keep the cost, integrated cost lower. This is what we ended up doing then. What the customer wanted, he wanted entertainment. What the competition was doing, they were selling the products at very high prices. And we decided to work on the 5 Ws and the H and bring about this disruption strategy. So we created the home CDs and DVDs. We kept pricing very, very disruptive. We spent a few crores on doing high decibel marketing. And we were almost every household who did not know Mosebeer till then became a household name. And we ensured that every nook and corner across the country, more than 1 lakh outlets, had this product in their shelf. We even went to the extent of getting cycle rickshaws created with a display and sale machine for the CDs and DVDs. So big business opportunity, rising affordability, what was being sought by the customer? They were seeking entertainment in their leisure time. They were wanting to do it in their homes. The population was huge. We said we have a great opportunity. In those days, people used to rent because buying at $400 was not feasible for everybody. So anybody who was not in the high strata would either be renting. But now we gave them an option that you can buy. So with this idea, plan and action, we became a household name. In those days, we were a stock market darling. Our price went up to some $400 kind of price. Today we are at 10 rupees. Huh? Do you understand stock market? You must. It's a very, very important aspect of learning in life. So with 10,000 kitty titles in our kitty, plus regional languages, we were all over the place. We did everything that was required for marketing this product. We were there in social media, we were there over email, we were there on hoardings, we were there on TV, we were there, you name it, we were there everywhere. All the dots connected well for us then. But what we did not see coming, that a shift would happen someday from analog to digital. Someday, the Sky broadcast and video on demand or podcasting would take over. We forgot that Indian audience is also there abroad. So when we were buying the rights, we did not negotiate for international rights. We did not negotiate for digital rights. We did not negotiate for perpetual rights. If you can imagine, in those days, with all that cash that we had, we could have demanded whatever we wanted, and people would have given to us. But we did not do these things. And the entertainment business, you need to keep another kitty aside, because content has to be changed every time. You need to bring in newer and newer content. We didn't plan for it. And last but not the least, piracy is the biggest killer for all of us. And in India, there used to be organized piracy, unlike in the US, where it's individual piracy. Each one is doing it in their own home, or you're doing it in your own laptop. But in India, in those days, it was organized piracy. You had people who were in the business of doing this. They really, really killed us. And we didn't plan for them. But there's no way we could have planned. Even today, there is piracy. Instead of commercial piracy, now you, me, he or she would be doing it ourselves and not paying for the content. So this is what happened. So there was a rise which happened in the business. There was a fall which happened. There were lots of dots which we had connected. There were lots of dots which we did not connect. So it's only that today we can look back and say what went right, what went wrong. We can connect the dots and use those experiences in whatever else we do now. So that fall happened, and now we have again started a new beginning. We've now got into LED business. We are launching bulbs, tubes, panel lights, down lights, which are all FMCG durable products. And we hope to rise back this marketing space. This is a recent ad that we released. So I'm here to connect, share, and engage with you. Thank you. If there's anything that you would like me to talk on, I would take on the questions. Before I end the presentation, I have 2 slides to share with you. I strongly believe, with all these years behind me, believe in your karma. Because what goes around comes around. Keep the circle positive, peaceful, loving. There's a great saying in the Upanishads, and I would like to read this twice because it's got a very, very deep meaning in all our lives. You are what your deep driving desire is. As your desire is, so is your will. As your will is, so is your deed. As your deed is, so is your destiny. So if you really want to control your destiny, you need to start with the deep driving desire. To read once again, you are what your deep driving desire is. As your desire is, so is your will. As your will is, so is your deed. As your deed is, so is your destiny. Thank you. Sorry?
You didn't touch with the senior you punched.
I don't know whether senior is. I'm sure you'd love to meet me now. As far as the first question is concerned, whatever we learn from our past experiences, like I shared, all of us know from our past experiences. It's only a base for us. One thing that I strongly believe is if I have the desire to change that, I'm quite confident we can do it. To give an example, at the age of 50, I went for my first marathon. I don't walk beyond a couple of kilometers, maybe twice or thrice a week, but I went for my marathon. I went trekking for 50 kilometers into the hills in Himachal after the age of 50. I went last week paragliding, jumped off the cliff. But I had a great time. And trust me, I would advise you to start early. Don't wait till you turn 50. It's great fun. Go out, do that adventure. You will figure out, even if you fall, it doesn't matter. But I'm saying please experience it. You don't know what you're missing in life. But as long as you have the right desire and you're willing to put in your will behind it, things will work out. So I'm quite confident that whatever mistakes we may have done in the past is past. Do you understand the concept of time? Where I am standing now is my present. And every second is turning into a past. Every second of future is becoming present, right? Every second it is happening. Now, if I keep worrying based on my past, or if I keep worrying about my future, what happens to my present? It's gone. We have finished the present. Because every second the present is becoming past. So just learn to enjoy where you stand. Just enjoy that moment. Like I'm enjoying today being amidst you. Thank you so much.